What's going on, team? Now, I enjoy finding creative different ways to improve my performance and my physique. Obviously, that's kind of what this channel is about. But since I've been biohacking, which is basically defined as making small incremental changes in either diet or lifestyle to make small improvements in both your health and well-being, my own reasons for doing this have actually changed. And today I want to share with you why my perspective on this stuff has changed, and also my 3 top kind of like introduction biohacks that are either completely free or at the very least very cheap. Basically the most accessible, net positive biohacks there are. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jim Galvin, and on this channel we cover all things training, nutrition, biohacking and ancestral living to help you guys work out what you need to do based on your own individual biology to help improve your performance, your health and your physique. And today I want to share with you why I started biohacking, why I now continue to do it, 3 things that you can start off with in the realm and paradigm of biohacking that take pretty much no effort but give you a huge bang for your buck. So let's start off by talking about why I started doing this stuff in the first place. I started doing a few things like eating some organ meats or kind of more nose to tail, so we're not just eating the fleshy part of an animal, all the way to wearing blue light blocking glasses in the evening to help me sleep better. And I started doing all of this stuff purely in an attempt to kind of pursue a greater improvement in performance. Bigger numbers in the weights room, better times on the erg kit, and I was always kind of a Puritan with this stuff. I was always kind of a Puritan with everything, actually. Believing I had to stick to anything 100% of the time, every single day, week in, week out, for about a year before I'd experience any benefit from that. And even having one slight kind of deviation from a good habit would mean that there's just no benefit at all. My philosophy on this kind of changed when I started to do a couple of different biohacks, as I just mentioned. Started to experience an improvement in my gut health, a massive improvement in my kind of cognitive function and mental acuity, and also actually my recovery from different hard training sessions. And then whenever I did inevitably kind of deviate from some of these routines and these habits, had a weekend where I saw some friends, had a couple of crappy nights sleep in a row, indulged in a few cheeky ciders, I actually didn't feel as though my body was about to crumble. My hangovers weren't as bad. I wasn't as kind of like mentally knackered from missing a couple of hours sleep. Wasn't as sore after a game of football or a gym session, and just wasn't as overall kind of like physically and mentally wrecked after an indulgent weekend with my friends. Now my philosophy on this stuff, this kind of biohacking approach in general, has changed to this. There are 2 main reasons why I can kind of quite comfortably say that I know that I will continue to look for kind of different little tips and tricks and hacks for the rest of my life. Number 1, it builds such a strong foundation of overall performance, health, energy, cognition, sleep, everything I do on a day-to-day basis, kind of under the umbrella and within the realm of health, is improved. Both my body and my mind, I kind of like maximize my experience of everything I do on a day-to-day basis. I feel more energetic, I feel more able-bodied, and I feel more able to truly and kind of appropriately and as best as possible experience the day-to-day. And it gives me a little bit of peace of mind to know that I'm doing a little bit to kind of build towards my future, and I'm doing the right stuff for my body that's going to benefit me in years to come. And I genuinely believe that regardless of what age you are, you should be thinking about this even a little bit. And secondly, when I do inevitably and absolutely by my own volition decide to kind of park these habits for a couple of days, get drunk, indulge in some crap food, have a couple of shitty nights sleep, everything that a well-rounded, balanced, fun life would include, right? Every time I do this, the effects are either nowhere near as bad or much more short-lived than they would be before I did this stuff. So my new philosophy on biohacking is that it helps me build my foundations as strong as possible to kind of enjoy and maximize my performance, health, everything now in the day-to-day today, and also protects me a little bit, goes a little way towards either preventing or at least mitigating the downsides and the negative effects of doing the things that I absolutely know that I am going to do and that I enjoy doing, again, in a well-rounded, balanced life. As an example, since I've been looking after my gut health in a few different ways, which we'll kind of get onto in a minute, I don't feel anywhere near as crap or start to put on weight or feel anywhere near as bloated when I smash a couple of packets of gluten-free cookies after a heavy leg day. Hope that makes sense, guys. Now onto the applicable stuff, my 3 kind of top tips or best, most accessible biohacks that you guys can kind of start to introduce yourself into this stuff and hopefully feel a benefit straight away. Number 1, intermittent fasting. If you followed my content for a while, you'll know that this is something that I do and something that I heavily endorse and advocate, because I gob off about it in pretty much every flipping video, but there's a reason for that. Lots of different methodologies and ideas about how you can do this out there. The most common being what's called the 16-8. This is where basically you have an 8-hour eating window from basically the minute that you break your fast until the minute you have to kind of swallow your last little chunk of pie at the end of the day, and then a 16-hour window where you're fasting. That's basically no food and also no drinks that are going to kind of like stimulate digestion or affect your blood sugar. So basically just clear liquids or black coffee in that 16-hour window. It's not as bad as you might instinctively think when you think that at least half of this 16-hour kind of chunk of time for fasting is kind of already ticked off with sleeping. The benefits of this, guys, from a physiological standpoint are absolutely flipping amazing, and considering the most common method, which is the 16-8, all it really requires you to do is just miss breakfast and not have anything until midday. It is incredibly accessible to have something that gives you this much of a benefit, both in kind of your current day-to-day and in terms of like cellular health and longevity, which we'll get onto in a second, with such an easy kind of change in lifestyle of just not eating until 12 instead of having breakfast at 8:30. Very few people have a good argument as to why they can't do this. And for those of you that say, oh my God, I just couldn't do this, I'm so hungry in the morning, you adapt to this methodology and this kind of routine surprisingly quickly, actually. I reckon 100% you will feel a lot better, and you'll feel nowhere near as hungry in the mornings after you've been doing this literally just 1 week. You don't need to be doing this for 6 months before those hunger kind of pangs start to go away. And it's difficult for me to try and communicate certain principles on this channel whilst attempting to balance compassion, love and understanding whilst also being kind of honest and direct. So I'll try to give that a go now. If you're not willing to struggle through something for just 7 days that feels just a little bit uncomfortable and different, if it helps you improve your performance, your health and your physique, that doesn't bode very well for your health in the future. But you guys already know that follow me, because you've got iron will, and that's why I love you. And this one isn't even really that hard. Just don't put any food in your mouth until midday. With the unbelievably comprehensive list of benefits for intermittent fasting, with such a kind of a low barrier to entry, make it, in my opinion, pretty much the most net positive thing anyone can do for their health. I know that's a big statement with everything kind of under the umbrella and within the paradigm of kind of like fitness, health and wellness, but there's a reason that I go off about intermittent fasting on pretty much every video at some point, even if only for 2 seconds. And for the physically ambitious male contingent, I will tell you this, you will not lose muscle by not having breakfast. Please refer to the video about how most young men wanting to bulk get it wrong, and about how eating too much can actually create huge amounts of digestive stress, actually preventing you from putting on muscle. And considering it's when we're in a fasted state that our body's ability to kind of recover and make all these changes and adaptations to all of our tissues and repair damaged muscle tissue and fight off viruses and blah, 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 and replenish glycogen and do all the things that it needs to do. Considering it's when we're in a fasted state that this stuff is most efficient and most effective, there's an extremely strong argument, and anecdotally, this is exactly what I've experienced, about how intermittent fasting could actually help muscle growth. If you're trying to perform well in any kind of given sport, or you're trying to put on muscle or at least kind of repair damaged muscle tissue from weight training, but you're eating every 3 hours from the second you get up until the second you go to bed, your body is spending far too much time, effort and energy trying to break down this incredible amount of food rather than actually make all the adaptations that you're trying to elicit from your training. And again, for the guys, the huge increase in testosterone from being regularly in a longer, prolonged fasted state is also going to make a huge difference to your training and your adaptation. We could do a whole video on this, or a series of videos, guys, purely on intermittent fasting, and I probably will do this soon, but for now, let's just put a pin in that and just conclude and all flipping collectively agree that intermittent fasting for your brain and your body and your soul will just make you a better human. Hack number 2, sleep related. Sleep is the foundation of everything. Hormone balance, hunger cravings, performance in the gym, clarity of thought, all of it. It's considered by many now not to be another one of kind of the pillars of fitness, health and wellness, but actually the foundation that all of the other pillars are actually kind of stood and balanced and supported from. For me, sleep quality has always been something that has been incredibly frustrating and has eluded me. It's either been terrible or at the very best, inconsistent. There have been a few things that have helped me over the years. Buffering a certain amount of CBD oil in my system. I say that because it's like if I just have a couple of drops before I go to bed as a one-off, that's not really going to work. But if I've been doing it every day for about a week to 10 days, that's when I start to feel an effect. So CBD oil has helped. A weighted blanket has also helped. But one thing that has consistently worked, and I now ensure is a staple part of my life, is a cold bedroom. If you're somebody who trains regularly, that's 3 to 4 times a week plus, you are going to have a body that is constantly, throughout the day and the night, running at a higher temperature than normal people. This isn't a bad thing in and of itself in isolation. It's definitely not a bad thing during the day, but it might mean that at night, even when we are asleep, we are not sleeping as deeply as we could be. I thought I'd try this a few months ago, and literally from the first night, I slept like the dead. I don't feel like I'm stirring in the night as much, and when I do wake up, I do experience as though I've slept deeper. There are also a lot of other things I do for my sleep regularly. Blue light blocking glasses, certain kind of playlists of binaural beats or rain sounds have been effective. Different breathing techniques as I'm lying in the bed, kind of helping my body transition into a slightly more parasympathetic nervous system state. But for the purposes of today's video, as I mentioned earlier, I don't want to kind of blind you and just chuck too much information at you, making you think you have to do all of these things to get any benefit. I'm trying to communicate to you a couple of different things, this being one of them, that can help get you a big benefit with hardly any effort and basically hardly any change to your current kind of day-to-day life. Sleep is so bloody important, and for me, one of the reasons it's been so frustrating when I haven't been able to attain it is because unlike like effort in the gym or what you put in your mouth, sleep isn't wholly in your control. So if that sounds even remotely like you too, and you do train regularly, again, that's 3 to 4 times a week plus, then I do 100% advise you try sleeping in a colder bedroom. Again, sleep quality and quantity are not the same thing. You might not feel as though you're sleeping any more in terms of quantity, but it just might mean that your body allows itself to go into a deeper state of sleep. Again, kind of accelerating all the adaptations and all the different processes that your body needs to go through when it is sleeping. And on to hack 3, slightly less instantly accessible, as you might not be able to get access to one for free. But my third hack today is heat therapy, specifically saunas. I recently joined a gym in my town, specifically to access the sauna, which some people think is a bit crazy. I don't train at the gym, but for me, a gym membership of £29 a month when I visit the sauna, basically between, either 4 days a week up to every single day, is worth it for me. The benefits associated with this stuff varies all the way from kind of improving your skin, fairly obviously, to increases in testosterone as a male athlete, stimulating muscle growth, cellular health, immune system, everything. Incredible amounts of data as to an improvement and an increase in metabolism, sleep quality, relaxation of muscles obviously, and decreases in joint pain. Nerve function, brain function, blood vessels, blood flow. It literally seems as though every system and every tissue is improved with regular kind of exposure to this hormetic stressor. In terms of frequency, it very much depends on access, but I'm a huge fan of getting exposure to this at the absolute minimum of 4 times a week, and if I can get in there every day, then I probably would. 15 minutes seems to be the ideal amount of time in there, which is good for me because I'm really starting to struggle about 1:13 and a half, which means I only have to be pulling my flipping eyeballs out for about 90 seconds before I grant myself the freedom to actually be able to open the door and get out. I think in terms of all the general benefits that I've just mentioned, the time of the day probably doesn't matter too much. But in terms of performance, getting in there within about 60 minutes of finishing a decent lifting session in the gym is pure magic. Amazing, again, for nerve function, for growth hormone release, and stimulating all the repairs that we need after breaking down our muscle tissues. Obviously, heat can cause inflammation, but remember, from the super acute direct response from training, we want that inflammatory response after exercise. This is why cold water immersion is absolutely amazing, and also I'm a big fan of that. I used to have an ice bath, but not directly after a lifting session. We don't want chronic inflammation in our bodies. In fact, a lot of pros are saying now that's pretty much the sponsoring root cause of all illnesses in the human body. But the heat response directly after a lifting session in a short, acute time window of that 15 minutes can be absolutely amazing for us. And I know that some of you might not be able to get access to a sauna and might be asking whether or not a hot bath could elicit the same effect, or at least go a certain way towards eliciting that same effect. Honestly, I don't know. From the extremely little research I did on this morning, it looks as though it's going to be nowhere near as good, but it can provide something, and it will provide a benefit that could kind of be similar, and it could be a quick fix if you're not able to get access to a sauna, but realistically, it's going to be nowhere near as good. Good job, team. So we have number 1, intermittent fasting. Cellular autophagy, which is basically a cellular cleanup process, which is the thing that makes you live longer from fasting. Blood sugar regulation, In less than a week, your hunger cravings are going to be a lot more regulated. Your natural process of like tissue and system repair will be on absolute supercharge. Number 2, we have a colder bedroom, allowing your body to allow itself to enter into a deeper sleep state and allowing kind of all the benefits associated with, again, proper repair in that stage. Especially important for people who are active and train regularly, because your bodies will just be operating at a higher temperature than those people who don't. And sauna therapy, not free unless you've got one in your garden, but still very cheap and definitely worth the investment if it's something that you want to access and kind of give your body and give yourself exposure to regularly, which I recommend you should. Again, cellular health, nerve function, immunity, repair, blood flow, joint pain, improvements in sleep, relax muscles, the whole shebang. Guys, all these 3 hacks are very doable and they've all done wonders for me over the last couple of years. And as I mentioned at the beginning, guys, I'm not a Puritan with anything. This is why my philosophy on this stuff generally has changed. But if 80% of my life I can be doing this stuff, and with none of it do I find particularly challenging, then A, my day-to-day will be better, I will feel more able-bodied, I'll feel more energetic, I'll have more clarity of thought. And B, it means I can still live my life to the fullest and indulge in the things that I want to with my friends, living a kind of a balanced, well-rounded life without it battering me as much, or at least getting back on track as quick as possible. Hope you did enjoy, guys, and as always, any questions on anything I've covered in this video, please do just chuck them down in the comment section below. Begging you now, give us a big thumbs up, it really does help me, helps build the channel, and as always, guys, stay strong, stay healthy, stay awesome, peace out, and I'll see you in the next one.